went to school here, didn't you, Fort Sill?
Funny, I just went out there and dug it out of the garage this morning. We were talking about something.
Yeah.
I said, I'm just seeing that bicentennial bug out there, so I went out there and got it this morning.
The old building still there? The old school?
Yeah. No, not that one.
Not that, no.
The
not
girls'
the first
building,
one.
the only one that's left. I don't know if they got a picture of that in there or not.
Were there two schools in the old days, boys and girls?
No, it was all combined. When I first started, it was a different location from where they're at now.
Today's 21st. You go by Dick, Richard?
Roderick's my real name. Dick's just a nickname.
Dick's a nickname.
Yeah.
Roderick. How'd you get the nickname Dick?
Beats me, I don't know. Majority of the people knows me as that.
Okay. Ready?
Yeah. Smoking don't bother it?
No. No. Okay, today is June 21st, 1988. This is Joe Todd, an interview with Mr. Roderick Red Elk in Lawton, Oklahoma. So where were you born?
I was born in Walters, Oklahoma.
And when's your birthday?
January the 23rd, 1923.
1923. Who was your father?
Frank?
Frank Red Elk?
Yes.
And your mother?
Maud Homavich.
H.
Elder for him also.
H-O-M-A-V-I-C-H.
And where are your parents from? Around this area?
My dad was originally from Cache, and my mother was from the Walters area.
And when did you first go to the Indian School, Fort Sill?
I believe it was in 1933 or 34, something like that.
What kind of work your father did?
He's a farmer.
Farmer? Did the Comanches allot the land around here? How did they?
Yeah, they were allotted land. The older ones were allotted land.
When did they allot the Comanche land? Do you know?
Gosh, I don't know the exact dates back in the 1900s, but I don't know the exact date. I don't think he was old enough at the time to be allotted. Neither was my mother.
Did you go to school before Fort Sill Indian
Yes.
School? When did you start?
Up to a little country school out in the country called Soldier Valley.
Soldier Valley. How far is that from Walters?
It's 3 miles south and about a mile west.
And why did you go to the Fort Sill School? Why did your parents send you there?
I really don't know. The country school only went to the 6th grade.
And is Fort Sill, is it a boarding school?
Boarding school.
How many students were there when you started going?
Gosh. I want to say at least 250 to 300.
And were you allowed to speak your native language?
Yes.
In a lot of the schools, they didn't allow them to speak.
That was,
native language.
yeah, when they first started, I understand it was that way, that you would get punished for speaking your native language.
And you live in a dormitory there, I suppose?
Yes.
Okay. Did you have any certain duties you had to do at the school? Any work you had to do?
Yes, we went to school half a day and then worked on the farm, either farm work or dairy work or whatever they had us to do. They rotated us around.
What different types of work did you have to do? When you say farm work?
Well, we either had to work the dairy, we did the milking of the cows. Worked on a farm, we went out and mended fences, plowed, and sowed wheat, or whatever that had to be done.
Did you raise most of your own food?
Raised our own food. We were self-contained there. We had our own garden. It was like a little project there. Everybody had a garden. They all maintained it.
And how many years did you go to school there?
I guess from 33 to December of 40.
And what did you do after December 40, after the school?
That's when they recruited us for that signal corps there. I was going around recruiting a bunch of Comanche boys.
Who was organizing the signal corps unit?
Bill Carty.
I interviewed him about a month ago. Got him on tape. So they were organizing the unit before we got the war there, in 1940. And where'd you go for basic?
Fort Benning, Georgia.
Tell me about basic. Fort Benning.
Well, it's like all the rest of the basic trainings that you go to, but it was fairly simple for us. We had training right there at the Indian School. We knew how to march, knew how to make our own beds, knew how to take orders. So we were pretty well prepared for that. That's what amazed our supervisors, our lieutenants and sergeants. Couldn't understand why we knew so much in such a short time. Usually basic training is what? How many weeks?
Well, mine was 8 weeks.
8 weeks. Seemed like we went through it in about 3 or 4 weeks, but we was that far advanced.
So Fort Sill was it a paramilitary organization?
Everything we did, we had to march. We marched to it. We cleaned our own. Some had lived in dormitories. Some lived in little rooms, 4 or 5 per room. We had to make our own beds, keep your own shoes shined, and all that.
Did you live in one of the rooms, or
Later on I did. First started out in the dormitory.
How many boys in the dormitory?
Oh gosh, anywhere from 20 to 30.
And then how did they determine who stayed the rooms?
Well, as you got older, you know, and I guess they watch your progress. I don't know how they determine. They just pick you out and put you in the room.
Did you have your own separate unit in the Signal Corps?
What do you mean, separate unit?
All the Comanches that they recruited, were you in your own special unit?
No, it was in the Signal Company. Just performed all the duties that the other people were in the company. Wasn't anything separate about it. We did everything they did, plus working up our code for what they wanted us for.
I was going to ask, how did you develop the code?
Well, as you know, there's for words such as tank. You know, back in the old days, the Indian language didn't have a word for tank. So we had to discuss and agree on what to call a tank. And artillery and machine guns and stuff like that. And there was a given name for them in the Comanche language. So a bunch of us got together and just discussed it, and that's how we gave it a name, and that's what we used.
Just use a different Comanche word for tank or artillery?
Something relating to a tank. Yeah, for instance, like tank we used, they have a hard shell. It's hard to pierce. And the only thing we could relate it to was a turtle. A turtle has a hard shell. So that's what we called it, wakare. Wakare in Comanche is a turtle. So that's the only way we could relate it.
What about artillery?
Well, that too was kind of hard to define the different caliber of artillery. Dawoy is a gun, meaning any kind of gun. It could be a rifle, or it could be artillery piece, or any type of gun. In artillery, we have to distinguish what type that it was, what millimeter, or if it's an 8-inch, we had to say it. We used the letter 8 in the Comanche language, using that gun.
How long did it take to develop the code?
Well, it took us about 2 weeks to really get everything down that we needed to. Every military term that we needed to use. Telephone, radio, convoys and stuff like that. See, there's no word for a convoy. And all the military ranks and all that, there's no such words for them.
Did you develop this at Fort Benning?
Yes.
What section of Fort Benning were you located?
Was in the Harmony Church area.
Harmony Church area. This is Harmony, Oklahoma. Is it any connection between?
No, this was just an area out there that had. I imagine at one time there was quite a few churches around there, and they just called it the Hominy Church area.
And where'd you go from Fort Benning?
Oh gosh, we moved around Fort Benning. We went to we think of the other fort there in Camp Gordon, Georgia. Camp Gordon, we went to Fort Dix, New Jersey. From there we went to Florida, took amphibious training in Florida.
Where were you when the war started? December 41.
We were there at Fort Benning.
Fort Benning.
Fort Benning.
Now, did Mr. Carty have the idea for the Code Talkers, developing the code? Or?
No, he wouldn't. After he recruited us, he didn't have any association with it at all, other than, writing letters to someone in the group, wanting to know how I was getting on and all that.
So who was the leader of the Code Talkers?
Well, really, I don't guess you would say anyone was really a leader. I don't think we didn't really look up to anybody as a leader. We just did it as a group.
And who are your officers in charge of the unit?
The unit that was in?
Yep.
Oh my gosh. God, that's been too many years ago.
And what company were you in?
It was in the 4th Signal Company.
4th Signal Company. And 4th Division?
4th Infantry Division, yes.
How did you keep the code a secret so word wouldn't leak out to the enemy?
With no secret to it. They just couldn't speak our language. You can't speak our language. You can't, even if another Comanche didn't know the words that we put in for such as tanks and artillery, they wouldn't know what we were talking about. They'd have a good general idea, but they wouldn't know exactly what we were talking about.
So there's actually a code within the Comanche language?
Because there's no such words for tanks and machine guns and artillery.
And
Give them a little time, they could figure it out, what we were talking about.
And you went overseas from where?
Fort Dix, New Jersey.
Remember what ship you went over on?
All I know is it was, I call them limeys, and they don't like to be called that. It was the British transport.
Anything happened on the trip over?
Yeah, everybody got sick. Nobody would go to Mass every day, Mass Hall. There was only about, I guess, 3 out of the whole boat would go there.
Did you get seasick?
No, I never did get seasick there. I did when I was taking amphibious training on those little landing crafts. I did, but I didn't.
What did you take for your amphibious training?
I can't remember the exact name of the place in Florida, but we were all over that coast of Florida when we was taking our training.
And how long did it take to get to England?
I believe it's about 15 days. We didn't go on a straight line, we zigzagged.
And do you know the approximate date when you left the States to go overseas?
It was in January. I was on the boat on my birthday. I remember that.
January of 40.
That'd be 42.
42. What else did you do in the military between 40 and 42? You know, the 2-year period, or year-and-a-half period. Did you just train?
Yeah, we just trained like all the rest of the non-Indians. We did everything that they did. We had to pull guard, had to pull KP, and had to do all of that. The same as any other soldier. Whatever their duties were, we did it too. There was nothing, you know, no special duties other than we'd have brush-ups on that every so often.
Did you have any special treatment because you were a specialized unit?
Well, the natives there in Georgia were kind of write-ups like that in the paper, I guess is what scared them. They were kind of afraid of us. We'd go to town, there's always 2 or 3 of us together. They'd see us coming and they'd just move over to the other side of the street like they were just, you know, really afraid of us.
Any reason? Or just...
I don't know. I guess just write-ups.
Yep.
Saying there were some wild Comanches in town.
Of course, I guess the Comanches have a reputation. In fact, Mr. Carty said that the symbol is a lion representing a snake. He said the Comanches are silent but deadly, like a snake.
It'll creep up on you and get you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, other than that, we never did have any trouble. We had some trouble with other branches of the service. I guess on account of all those write-ups, on the thing I know of.
You say trouble with the other branches, what kind of trouble?
They were always challenging us to meet them downtown. They didn't think we were that tough. I guess they was going to just had to try and see.
Who normally won?
I'd give you 3 guesses.
The Comanches.
We usually took care of ourselves pretty good.
So, where'd you land in England?
Oh, gosh. We wound up in a little town called Tiverton. That's where we wound up staying for about, I'm going to say 6 to 8 months. And there we took more amphibious training. We kept all of our vehicles ready to go any time.
What was the reaction of the British people to the Comanches?
Well, there again, we had a little trouble over there too. The American colored people was over there ahead of us, and they said they were American Indians. And you know how that went over when we got there. It just so happened that there was a bunch of Southerners in the same unit that we were in from Georgia and the Carolinas. And you know how well they liked the colored people. And we was there about a month, I guess. And they found one of these colored soldiers hanging on a door with a bayonet run to him. And who did they blame? They called every one of the things for the simple reason that they were calling themselves American Indians. They figured that we were the one that did it. To this day, I know the old boy that did it, and he hated them with a passion. He was from South Carolina. Needless to say, that unit that was there, the very next day, they shipped him somewhere else.
What, the black unit?
Mm-hmm. It was quartermaster's unit. They moved him out. And that was the only trouble we had with him. What the British that lived in that little town always said about the American soldiers is they were overpaid, overclothed, and oversexed. That's what they said about the American soldiers.
So from that town, where'd you go?
Well, from that town we hit the beach. From that down there, we had, I don't know how many, I'm going to say 15 to 25, what I call dry runs from that town. We'd load on boats, load all our equipment, vehicles and everything on boats, and go like we're going to make an invasion and hit some beach somewhere.
Was that practice for D-Day?
Yeah, that was practice.
When you knew the invasion was coming, what was your reaction?
Well, to tell you the truth, Todd, I didn't even know it was a real thing because we did it so many times. That's why I just another dry run. I really didn't realize it until I seen an old boy marching back about 4 Germans with their heads over their head, hands over their head, bring them back. So, well, this must be the real thing. Everything that they, every time we made the practice landing, they set off, charges, pretty close to where we at, make it like it was a real thing. When we did hit the beaches, everything was, just identical. And even when we was going in, there was some boat that was hit off to the right of us. There was bodies laying around. I said, they're really making it look realistic now. I said, they put dummies out there and you can see their bodies floating around. That's just what I thought. I said, they're really trying to psych us out now. But it was the real thing.
What was your reaction then when you realized it was the real thing?
I didn't realize it at the time. I didn't realize it until we was, probably 4 or 5 hours in.
And where did you land?
Utah.
Utah.
Mm-hmm.
How tough is Utah Beach?
Well, let's see, I don't know how tough the first wave was. We was about 4 hours behind the first wave. But after the second day, as soon as we hit the beach, we started laying that wire for communications. And after we get so far, we run out of wire, then we have to come back and pick it up. And then after we come back, about the second day, picking up that wire, then I realized we was in the real thing. And then you can still see, the mangled bodies and everything else still there.
How long did it take to get off Utah Beach?
Well, they were in about a mile when we hit the beach. We're still getting a lot of artillery. We wasn't getting no smaller ones far.
Who had? Oh, go ahead.
Well, after we got some tanks in. I guess about an hour after we hit, the tanks started coming in, and the column started moving pretty good. They were just, the infantry wasn't fighting until they hit resistance. And we we just follow them along, you know, with the communications. And when they stop, we'd have to stop. As we move on, they'd call back and say, we're moving. So here we go again. And once we got the tanks in there, it went pretty good.
Who had control of the air, the Allies or the Germans?
I think we did. I think we had control because I never saw so many planes.
Now, exactly what did you do as a code talker on D-Day? What did you do?
On D-Day, we didn't have really time to do anything but keep up with the column. Because everything was in such a hurry, you know. You're trying to move in. You're trying to establish yourself, and there wasn't really any need for any code talking, because they know you're there, and they know where you're at, and you know where they at. So you're just trying to cut through there and establish yourself.
How did you go through St. Lo?
Yeah.
Was the battle still going when you got there?
Battle of the Bulge? No,
No, but there at St. Lo in the D-Day.
Well, the infantry outfit I was with, they the one that liberated Cherbourg right after D-Day. I don't know, what, 3-4 days after that. They the ones that, in fact, the old boy that I was telling you about that had to run in with the colors in England, he's one of the guys that pulled the flag down in Cherbourg, the German flag, and run up the American flag.
Was that a pretty hard battle at Cherbourg?
Well, it had to be for the riflemen. See, you're talking about 3-4 different lines, and the people, the foot soldiers that does all what I call the dirty work, they're the one that catches most of it. So you got your foot soldier, and then you got your reserve behind them, and you got your artillery, and all the other headquarters is still behind them. So
now, where was your unit in all this battle? Where were you held?
Well, we still was I believe it was the 12th Infantry that I went in and supported with.
I mean, you weren't frontline troops, were you?
No.
When is the first time you actually used the code for real?
It had to be.
I mean, you weren't frontline troops, were you?
No.
When is the first time you actually used the code for real?
It had to be in France during that breakthrough where Patton broke through. When they used it the most, that's the first time that I ever used it.
Now, was that during the Battle of the Bulge or D-Day?
During the Battle of the Bulge, you know, when Patton first broke through there.
Now, there at Bastogne?
Was it St. Louis where they broke through?
Yeah. St. Louis.
Yeah.
What did you do from D-Day until Battle of the Bulge? What did you do?
We did just what I'm telling you, where we meet resistance. When we took Cherbourg, now we had a little break there. We had about, probably 4 or 5 days, what I'll call rest, because they took it and all what Germans was there surrendered, and there was no more fighting. It was like a little peninsula there that we cut off and then went in and cleaned it up. And we spent probably about 5 days there. And from there we moved on. We just It was just a continuous move, same thing, just repetition, everything he did.
What was the reaction of the French people to the Americans?
Pardon?
What was the reaction of the French people to the Americans?
Oh, they were glad to see us. The majority of them was just all come running out there hollering, "Vive l'Amérique, vive l'Amérique." That's all they'd say. They were, I guess, they called the Germans Bosch, and they were, I don't know what they were saying at the time in French, but they were really landing on the Bosch.
Do you know where you crossed into Belgium? What area?
No, not really. Because over there you're not, you really don't know where you're going until after it's all over with, and they tell you where you've been. I guess the hardest campaign that I can remember was at the one they called the Hurtgen Forest. You heard of that one?
Mm-hmm. Where's that located? Do you know?
Oh, it's pretty close to the Belgian border. Because that's where we first run into those airbursts, you know, so high, about 15, 20 feet off the ground, and then burst up there. The Germans were shooting at our boys.
Now, is that still in France? Is that in
That's
Belgium?
in Germany.
That was in Germany.
No, France. That's in France. And I think it's right there on the borderline of France and Belgium. I remember going through this one town. I don't remember the name of it. One side of the street was French, and the other side was Belgians. They could both speak both languages.
Yeah.
That was the toughest, and that's where that was before that breakthrough there. They had already went through there and cleared that. And while we was in the Hurtgen Forest, it chopped us up pretty good, and they pulled us out and sent us to Luxembourg for rest. And that was the first rest we had. They sent us to Luxembourg, and they was going to get us some more replacements. And while we was in Luxembourg, is when they broke through there. That's so low, yeah. The Bulge. And that's where we were at when the Battle of the Bulge happened.
That's through the Ardennes forest.
Yeah.
Were you in Luxembourg City itself, or?
Yeah, I was right on the outskirts of it looked like it was I don't know, a school or a military base or something. They had some buildings there that we stayed in.
What was the reaction of the Luxembourg people?
Well, they took to us like duck did to water. They thought we were something special.
And did you have to retreat in the Battle of the Bulge?
No. We were cut off there for a while.
What did you think at that point?
Supply line? Well, I guess you've heard that old thing where they put everybody on the line. See, we were under strength at the time. They never did get those replacements before they broke through. That's the way they did. They put everybody out on the line, but they didn't bother with Luxembourg. They just went straight to St. Louis. See, that was the hub. They was trying to reconquer that so they could have control.
Now, how far is that from Bastogne?
Gosh, I can't tell you. I really don't know. But it did get the food situation there got pretty touchy in Luxembourg because we couldn't. When they cut us off there, we couldn't get no rations.
So what to do without rations?
Well, hunting. Another boy went out and killed 2 deer one day. And we just went out, just looking around, goofing around. And I happened to see I saw the one deer. And I told my buddy about it, and he says, he was non-Indian. I said, look, there's some deer, let's get them. I said, we'll take them back to the mess hall and let the cooks fix them up. He said, I'll go for that. So he's circling around, and I stayed over here, and he's running back over me. And we've got both of them. I was using the carbine, he's using the M1. And we got both of them down, and when I went stuck to their line, and I fired it back to the company, got us one of those little trucks, got some help, and we loaded them in there, took it to the mess hall. Oh, the mess sergeant was all eyes. We had a feast that night.
Tell me about the time when you first used the code. What were you doing, and how did it work?
Well, it was when Patton first broke through, Me and another fellow was attached to this unit. Funny set communication form. And the way he did it, you know what they called him? Blood and guts, Patton. He just drove until he met resistance. He'd let the foot soldiers do the dirty work if they couldn't do it, and they'd bring his tanks up there and blow them out. And we would relate our position. He'd give us a position to relate back to headquarters over the radio, and we would do that. And finally, we got so far out, we told him we was out of range. Told the general he's out of range, we're out of communication range. And he was a swearing general. He'd swear up a blue streak. And what really stopped him was petrol. He just went so far and so fast. His tanks were useless. They couldn't go no more. You know what I'm saying? What they averaged about 2-3 miles a gallon gas. That's what stopped him. They couldn't get him up to petrol because he was out too far on the land. And I imagine that's the only way they could control him, not send him any petrol.
Now, are you in Belgium when you first used the code?
No, this is still in France.
Still in France.
They have to break through.
Where'd you go? Remember any of the towns in Belgium that you went through?
Gosh, no, not now.
Any other incidents where you used the code that you can recall? Any specific incidents?
Oh, yeah. When we pulled into a new place at night, it was always, we always took turns. There was 8 men to a team. A squad, they called it. And each night, one man would take turns troubleshooting. If the lines went out, it was up to him to get it back in. It so happened it was my night in the barrel this one night. It was shelling pretty good. And one of their tanks had broke through our lines. I tapped into one of those lines, and all I could hear was Germans talking. And about that time, you know, I already picked up some German. I tapped in and listened to it, and all at once I just said, "Smootsie Dummkopf," and took my lines off and tapped another one, you know. I was trying to find my line, you know, and I found it. How you troubleshoot, you just go and tap into it, whichever way you can call, you know, either back or forward. Wherever you find the line, usually you can't find the break. You find the line back this way and go another 200 yards towards the front. You find it good. That way you just lay your line between those 2 points there and connect them back instead of trying to find where it's broke. A lot faster that way.
Do the Germans have the lines tapped?
Well, they could tap into those lines just like we did.
These both telephone lines or whatever?
They're all on the ground because, see, we're moving fast. I mean, this only place we put them up is where tanks travel across the road, so they won't chew them up. That's the only place we put them up. The rest of it's all on the ground, on the side of the road.
Do you have any specific guards guarding you for protection?
When you're out there troubleshooting?
Yeah, well, because, you know, you were the code talkers and they had to protect you all, didn't they?
No, we didn't have no guards. Just on your own.
So,
that's what was scary when that tank broke through. And I happened to tap in the line going forward, and I got hold of the right company, and he told me that the tank broke through, was coming our way. About that time I heard a boom. I knew it was artillery. I could tell by the sound, you know. Here was that tank he fired around. And he had AP, Armored Pearsons, all they carry in there to shoot other tanks. That is the weirdest sound you ever heard. Coming over the top of those trees, clipping those trees. It sounded like a freight train coming through there.
Where'd the shell land?
I don't know. It went on over me. It just kept going, just knocking tree limbs off that big. You can't do nothing but just hug the ground. That's about all you can do. Hope it don't explode. I don't know where it landed. It just went on over. He fired about 3 or 4 rounds, just firing that wheel, I guess. But that one just happened to come over me.
How often would you use the code?
Well, really not that often. Just whenever we got in a tide or whenever they thought they needed a message that was that important to send.
And who would give you the message to send? Who named the message?
Usually the RCO or a company commander, or would come down from higher headquarters like division or corps.
Did Patton have one of the code talkers with him?
No, just when we was on that breakthrough, 2 of us went with him. You know, just for that one purpose.
Did you go with Patton?
Yeah.
Did you know him?
I know him, yeah.
Well, what was he like?
mean. He's a mean, honored cuss. Cuss like a sailor. Had that pearl helm pistol. Have you seen, I guess you've seen the movies they made of him.
Yeah.
Always standing up in that Jeep. And he did that. He was a true general.
And do you know where you're crossing into Germany? Or did all the land look alike?
No, I don't. I just remember the Rhine River. That's all I remember.
What about the Siegfried line, Dragon Steep?
That part we didn't have anything to do with. I remember seeing it, but we didn't have any activity in that area. Someone else fell heir to that. We didn't go through that area. But I've seen them, man. It was something else. I imagine whoever went through there had a hard time.
What about the Rhine River? Having trouble getting across the Rhine?
We didn't, where we crossed. But I understand some of the other companies did.
Do you know where you crossed?
No, I have no idea.
I understand they had a pretty rough time there at that bridge, the Allotment Bridge.
I can't remember any names or hardly any town. A few towns in Germany that I can even remember.
Any specific incident in Belgium that happened that you can recall?
No, not really. I know it was awful cold there in December.
You go through Brussels or Liège or?
I probably didn't know it. So if there was any fighting at all in any of those towns, everything was just tore up. Signs and everything were all destroyed or knocked down.
Did you have any frontline duty?
What do you consider frontline?
In front of you as the Germans,
The time I spent with Patton, we was out there in the middle of nowhere. I guess you would call that.
What'd you go with him?
Right there when we broke through there, St. Lo.
Is that a St. Lo?
St. Lo was St. Vith. St. Vith.
Yeah.
St. Vith when they first broke through there, going on into Germany.
What was the reaction of the German people to the Americans?
They were afraid of us. They had fed them the propaganda that we were killers. Said we were all gangsters. Said we'd kill them on sight. And they were really afraid of us. That's what whoever fed them that line, and they were just scared to death of us.
And where were you in the war ended when Germany surrendered?
We was right there pretty close to the base of the Alps when it ended. It was getting ready to go that way. That's where we was at when the war ended.
You have a celebration?
Well, I think it was probably 6-7 hours. The war was over before we ever found out. See, we all strung out in different areas. Good news like that, they don't hand out too easily.
So were you in Germany or Austria?
We're still in Germany.
Go through Munich?
I remember Munich, but I don't know if we went through it or we fought through it or I drove through it or what. I don't know.
You were in that concentration camp there? There at Dachau?
I've been through quite a few of those concentration camps, but I can't tell you one from the other.
What were they like? What?
Terrible. Like hog pens. Human hog pens is what they're like.
Any idea why the Germans set them up or established them?
Well, slave labor is one of the biggest part that I know of.
And the prisoners, what, just staying there or?
They had, I don't know how many different.
They had a lot of Jews in them, I know that.
Gosh, yeah, and they had Russians and Polacks. Gosh, I don't know how many different nationalities they had in those.
What was the reaction of those people when you went to the camps?
They'd been scared so long they couldn't believe it, that they were liberated. They were just in doubt. You walk up and hand them a cigarette, they just couldn't believe it. They thought just any minute they was going to get hit in the head. I offered an old lady one time, who looked like she may not have been old, but she looked old. You know, those little chocolate bars come in those rations. I offered her one and she wouldn't take it. I guess she's afraid I'm going to poison her, so I opened it, broke a piece off and put it in my mouth, and then I gave it to her, and then she took it and ate it. I don't know what she was. I don't know what nationality she was. I tried to talk to her in German, and I couldn't get nothing across to her. What little German I knew, I tried to talk to her. Boy, it was terrible.
Do you think the Code Talkers helped shorten the war?
Well, I don't know. I don't think we have any way of knowing, really. I would like to think they helped, but I don't think you can really pin down that they did or they didn't.
Any idea what impact the Code Talkers had?
No, I sure don't, because there's never really no literature or nothing really come out about it.
What about any of the German prisoners? They comment on the Code Talkers?
Well, we never had any association with German prisoners. They always taken further back for interrogation, so we never had any dealings with them. And whoever did, whatever they found out, went to the IQ, so heck, I don't know.
How long did you stay in Germany after the war?
Gosh. When was the war over with?
They surrendered, I think, in May of 45.
Okay, let's stay there till September, I guess, before I ever got a boat out back home.
What were your duties in that period?
Nothing. Stayed in one of those Repple outfits and just made roll call every morning, and that was it.
You know where you were?
Well, where we shipped out from was Marseille in France. But we stayed in Germany in one of those, oh gosh, I can't think of the name of the place. It was a German garrison at one time, but I can't think of the name of it. We stayed there probably a month and a half, and then as they got transportation, we made our way to Marseille, and then we got a boat out of there.
Whenever anyone mentions the Code Talkers, what do you think of it?
Really nothing. It really don't mean that much to me. I mean, just
it's a job you had to do.
It's part of another duty. That's all I can think.
Have you received any recognition for the Code Talkers?
No, not really.
Because I know they finally recognized the Navajo Code Talkers in the Pacific, but I'm not aware of the Comanche people.
There's been talk about the French government was one to recognize. That's the last I've heard. That's been about a year ago. That's all I ever heard of. I haven't heard no more. Rumors going around here. Well, it's been about a year ago that they was going to recognize the Comanche Indians that was in that branch of service for that purpose. But that's all I ever heard.
Anything else about the Code Talkers? Any other incidents or any specific training or anything?
No. Nothing in particular that really sticks out in my mind right now. Other than some of it was fun and some of it was hazardous, so I guess if I had it to do over again, I don't know whether I would do it again or not.
Do you have any special ceremonies that the Comanches did among themselves in the service?
No, we
like
didn't.
A warrior society or?
No. No, other than there was, I don't think there was over 2 or 3 at the most that was affiliated with the Native American Church. But back then they didn't call it that. They just gave it that name here recently. They were associated with the peyote. And I understand that 1 or 2 of the boys might have had some of that peyote with them. I don't know that to be a fact. I'm just saying, that I've heard that. I don't know whether it's true or not. I wouldn't want to be quoted as saying that I said it. But I imagine each individual had their own beliefs and disbeliefs, and they worshiped the way they wanted to worship.
The Comanches still follow any of the old traditions?
Well, they're trying to get the old culture back now, but a lot of it is really lost. Just like you were saying a while ago about the lady that you're going to go see, that nobody has really got it down on tape or on paper or on anything.
Is there any of the old tribal members left that still know the old traditions?
There's a few, but not too many of them left of the older people that would remember all of that.
Do you think they'd let me interview them to save the old traditions?
I think the 1 or 2 that I can think of right now that would know that is too feeble right now, I believe, I don't believe you could get a sensible answer out of them. You would have to probably take along a translator. And,
do you speak Comanche? Well, you speak Comanche evidently, don't you?
yes, I speak it. But you take, I wouldn't say I was real fluent in it, because there's some words that the old Comanche used that I wouldn't have no earthly idea of what they were saying.
Who would be a good translator?
Oh, the only guy that I can think of right now that does that pretty often and knows quite a bit about the culture is Edgar Munatacha. You know him? Edgar Munatacha. Don't ask me to spell his name. I can't.
How you pronounce it again?
Munatacha.
Monatachi. Where does he live?
He lives up north of, up around the Mount Scott area.
And he speaks the old...
If anybody would, he would.
How old is he?
Oh, he's probably about 71 or 2, something like that. He was raised by his grandparents, and they spoke the old Comanche lingo. He would probably remember more than anybody that I can think of. I'm thinking of 2 elderly men that's in their 90s, but I don't think they would.
But he knows the old traditions. Is that true?
I think so. Yeah. I think you would.
How would I contact him?
I think we may have his phone number.
I'd like to call him to see if, I can interview him to help save the old tradition.